tired, man.
Welcome back, everybody, to Salty Runback's coverage of the CLOL 2024 Championship, where we are rejoined by Colthrow and Shogo, whose predictions have been disproven with a 2-1 lead to Northwood. How are you guys doing here, Colthrow and Shogo? I mean, a shocker in game number 3 for certain.
Yeah, no,
Um,
Northwood came out swinging. That was
yeah, I
a
think
really good game from RBM and Reppy specifically. I think Reppy had some really big Nico Rs.
Mm-hmm.
I personally hate that champ. Like, I'd be really happy if that champ got removed from the game. If I never had to see it again, I would be really happy. But yeah.
the Nico is kind of the difference maker there. Kind of had kind of threw Fisher off guard. As I was saying before the game, I would love for Fisher to have first setup on every single objective, forcing them to come into them, sort of thing. Unfortunately, I don't know if they knew how to play this comp to the best of their ability. They were kind of late to some objectives. They kind of had some fights where they had some numbers disadvantages. They had Bedge TPing on flanks. They had in the last fight, Volibear trying to find a kind of desperate flank. So I'd like to see them kind of pivot to a different type of draft if they don't necessarily know how to play, kind of this traditional front to back setup first type of comp.
I thought
All
they
right.
could get away with a lot more fights early game with the Volibear Braum. I feel like once you
Yeah.
go in, it's really hard to lose if everyone's on the same page with Varus front, like with Varus in the back and Volibear Braum frontlining. It's really, really hard to lose the 3v3, but if you're not confident enough and if you start falling back and you're not like playing to kill the enemy, then you are just giving Northwood the space they need to go back in and wipe you with a Jinx. So I would love to see Fisher just like take 5 minutes, mental reset, and go into game 4 with more confidence.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple extra minutes here before we get into draft for game number 4. So I want to get back through the series so far with you guys a little bit. Let's retrace the steps that have brought us here and maybe have a little bit of extra context from how the series has played out so far. So game number 1, that's the Fisher College win. That's Bajani's big pop-off on Cassante. Is the Cassante pop-off the only thing that feels like has been the big difference maker here, or did you guys notice differences in play from that first match where we were able to see Fisher win compared to right now?
I would say it feels like Fisher's not necessarily, kind of taking control of the games. The big thing for me is the Dragons. First game,
Yeah.
they were on top of every single Drake every single time. Second and third game, second game they chose to get to go for waves, towers, that sort of thing over Drags. It didn't pay off. This third game, they kind of just lost the fights before they even started. The one fight in bot try where they're bot red ramp when they're trying to fight without Varus. Just silly mistakes like that is just costing them every single drag. I would like to see them, kind of go back to the basic and say, okay, we're setting up for this drag. We're all going there as 4. Let's make it happen. Let's push our waves and then go. Kind of just go back to basics.
Yeah, with a
Shogo,
comp like
feeling the
this,
same?
it's just really important for everyone to be on the same page and have that confidence. Like, if we all go in, we will win, like straight up.
Mm-hmm.
So them not being on the same page for a lot of these plays really, really hurt them. And once they are behind, it's really hard to get back into the game against a Nico Jinx comp. Really, really hard.
Yeah.
I want to see Bej on a more traditional split push champ. Like,
Yes,
we know
please.
ISO's champion pool is limited, so let's use that and lock in the fucking Gwen and Fiora, man. Let's see it.
Big
I'm with him.
opportunity there.
Can I
Quacks,
swear?
what are you
My
thinking?
bad.
Is that what you're in for? Yeah, you get one. Everybody gets one.
All right.
Yeah, I mean I agree on Colthrow and Shogar's point in game number 3. I felt like, you have the Volley Bear and you have the Braum. I felt like they were not going aggressive at all. They had so many opportunities where I felt like they could have, maybe looked for a more aggressive aggro play, but at the end of the day, they just got outscaled by the Nico, by the Jinx, and it feels like that control that Fisher had in game number 1 over, the objectives over the Dragon, tracking RBM in the early game as well. I mean, they tracked RBM in game number 1 like he was on the FBI's most wanted list. And in game number 2 and 3, they just kind of let him go. They didn't really keep up that same pressure on this player. So I feel like, yeah, like you guys said, back to basics, just tracking RBM, going into the same game plan they had for game number 1 and trying to make it work.
And we want to talk about team play and tracking RBM a little bit. Game number 2 is the one where it looked like they were doing a good job of being able to keep him down early on, right? He was stuck on just one stack on the Kindred for a very long time. He ends the game with like 12 of the things. So he's
11.
really able to push his way back on in, even off the back of very good early jungle tracking. I mean, how, if you are the side of Fisher College, are you looking to just keep that tracking, keep that shutdown going as you get deeper and deeper into the series and deeper into the individual game itself? If you can close out on this guy early on and find that he still fights his way back in. Let's start with Shogo.
I think they need Poom on a champion that has more agency to just go in with Keel. Braum is kind of a follow-up. He's not really a super easy to execute main engage. I want to see him on Rel. I want to see him on Nautilus. Like, I want to see him walk in with Keel and, you know, command the enemy jungle. And I want to see them use that to create a lead in mid and bot. Because Northwood rarely plays to get top lane ahead. Like, top lane is kind of that island. He's on tanks. He's happy farming. But I want Poom to, you know, use his skills, use his expertise to have something more impactful. Because the Nami has not been it. And even the Braum felt a little bit lackluster because he doesn't have the trigger to pull.
Yeah.
No. All right, Cole Throw. Question to you. You could change one thing about one player coming in for game number 4 on Fisher College. What would you choose here? Whether it be about picks or about play style or anything, what do you think what can you get the biggest juice for the squeeze out of?
Bej on carries every time. I think he can blind them. He can even blind Camille. He can blind Riven. He can blind any of these champs. I don't necessarily think that Aiza's gonna have a good answer for him. Aiza did have a decent game on the Maokai where he was kind of just going down farm and then showed up in the team fight. But I think that Bej can really actually take over the games. This player's been around for quite a while and he's shown it in several different tournaments. He can take over games single-handedly. I think he should show it here. He should just add, hey. I know I can play Cassante, I can run the team fights later, but if you give me a carry, I can win lane and also just run the game by myself.
Yeah,
Shogo?
Cassante has been a really big threat in team fights, but there's only so much Cassante can do as like a threat that needs an answer. If he's just 1v1ing a Maokai, it takes him years to take a turret, but if he's on something like a Gwen or a Fiora or a Camille, he only needs 2 waves and he'll take down a turret just 1v1, just staring Maokai in the face. So, I just want Bajani on something that has more threat. And I want a faster paced game on the bottom side from Fisher. I want everyone to be on the same page. Have Poom on like a main engage tool. And, just dictate the game. Don't let RBM dictate the game.
Well, the change is in. It's not the one that you guys suggested. Fisher College are putting in Serenok for game number 4. Quacks, I want to hear from you first. How are we feeling like this changes things up for the series?
I actually felt like Rollick was doing pretty decently in this series. Obviously, I think Reppy in games 2 and 3 was able to have way more agency in team fights and sort of take over and kind of leave Rollick in the dust. So, but I am curious to see how Serenok kind of responds. Obviously, this is a player that Fisher entrusts a lot into. So I'll be interested to see if there's kind of any sort of big champ differences here in this game, if there's going to be any differences in terms of the draft even. But I think most importantly, I'm very interested to see if this changes up anything in Northwood's style around that mid lane in response to the change of players.
Coldthrow?
I think Serenok's, been another player that's been around for quite a long time. Has champs such as, the Zoe, Xerath, that can just, single-handedly take over games. I would love to see him get his hands on one of those if he feels like they're strong in the meta. Maybe if they're not so strong, maybe just get him on something like a LeBlanc, or just one of these control majors that he knows how to pilot. And I think a factor that, he might have over Rollick is he might have a little bit of an X factor, a little bit of a kind of carry potential there. Kind of pigeonhole RBM and Reppy to say, hey, you better play perfect now because Serenok can actually take over.
Yeah, and now going to be Oh, Shogo, actually, we didn't hear about you. Any thoughts on the Saranac matchup? Specifically,
I like it.
coming
I
on
was
in?
I was advocating for Saranac to sub in. You know, I like Saranac. I think he offers a more versatile champ pool than Ralik. Like we've only seen Ralik on these, you know, Talia Oriana champions. Saranac kind of has more of those champs that can really warp the game around them, like a Zerath and a Zoe. LeBlanc could do really well. Ari can do really well, but I already think like Saranac is going to get a lot of value from reading his pick and waiting for last phase with his pick, or he's just going to lock into Ari and be happy with it.
All right, snapped up our first Ari of the series here, going alongside another DMK Kalista. So, Fisher College maybe a little bit back to the volatile bottom lanes and doing it up against Reppy's Talia. You guys getting a little bit nervous here for the Fisher College roster, or does Saranac Ari make it all okay?
I think the Callisto Nod is a good pivot. It looks really strong with the way that Northwood plays in game one, where Northwood's kind of dogpiling in, just kind of all five, just kind of aping out on the first person they see. That Renata like pretty easily shuts that down every single time, especially into the Kaisa as well.
Yeah, Northwood has shown that they just want to go in. Like they don't play a super complex game of like coming in from 3 angles. They just want to go in and like Kolfa said, just ape out on the first target. And with Kaisa being locked in, like they're kind of committing to a full dive comp against the Renata. So greeting Bijani's pick is good. They can ban out some of the stronger tanks that Iso really likes to play. I would love to see Urgot banned, and then just a something like a Gwen can get a lot of value. Gwen plus a tanky bruiser in the jungle could do real damage.
So
I would love to see like another tank ban here, or like you said, Urgot. I would love to see Urgot ban into just a blind Gwen, blind Camille, blind something that's just gonna.
I like Camille a lot. Yeah. I think Camille would do really good to try and get onto that back line. Obviously, you have the threat of split pushing. Camille is one of the better champions at doing that. But you also can easily get onto Enthralled, right? If he's caught out of place, if you're able to get sort of a big hook shot followed by a Hextech ultimatum, then you can really put Northwood into sort of panic mode, get them to dogpile onto each other like you guys mentioned, and then throw out the Renata R, and suddenly Northwood are basically left with nothing left to do.
Please,
or
Veg,
no real
please,
response.
Veg.
Oh god. Yeah, I saw
Johnny.
Coltro's reaction there. Oh boy.
Brother.
I'm not a fan.
Please,
I'm not
man.
a fan.
well, look, the
I
Maokai counter pick's gone, guys. Iso's won. They
That
banned
is
away the
true.
Maokai.
I do think Cassante looks fine here. It isn't to a full dive comp, so I understand. I just, when I see a top laner go up 30 CS every single game, I would like to see him on something that has some agency. The Wukong is pretty good, but, they do lock the Poppy, and it's going to be a matchup where Veg can't really punish. Wukong's going to get something in the engage, but let's just hope that, if we want this game to go game 5, let's hope that Fisher figures out how to play the front to back kind of slow, let them come into us type style again.
I do think Northwood lacks a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who kills Cassante in this game. I don't think Poppy and Rek'Sai do any damage. And Talia is like, whatever. Like, if they walk into all of my spells, then I might do 500 damage to Cassante. But I don't know who kills Cassante this game, I'll be honest. Like, if Cassante's hitting your Kaisa, I mean, it's kind of hard for Northwood to play the game, I think. But it's on. I favor Fisher's draft, but it's going to come down to execution at the end of the day, as always.
Agreed.
For sure. I definitely agree that execution is the name of the game. But yeah, exciting matchups to your point here. Definitely a lot riding for both squads.
And we are on to the Rift. Thank you once again for hanging out with us, Shogo and Colthrow. We are on to the Rift for game number 4. Northwood with an opportunity to close out the series here, and with multiple anti-mobility picks into this Kalista and this Ari. Will the Cassante be enough? We'll have to find out. It is Poppy support for Clyde, by the way. Iso is playing a top lane Nautilus.
I don't want to say that Northwood cooked because they might burn down the kitchen with this draft, but
That's still
I
cooking.
do like what I'm seeing. Yes. I'm very interested to see how Northwood play. I feel like having that Poppy in the bot lane allows Northwood to maybe be a little bit more aggressive. You can see double Hail of Blades on both the Poppy and the Kai'Sa leads to them being able to get a lot of these short burst trades against the side of Kalista Renata. I'm curious to see if they're actually going to go for that. Because we did talk about it in the draft a little bit, how much we like to see this Kalista Renata come out. But I feel like the bot lane from Northwood is almost tailor-made to deal with this combo.
And you know, we've been talking about it. The meme the whole time has been, oh, wait a second. Clyde with a big dash into the wall on a DMK. And with the double Hail of Blades, they pump a ton of damage into him. Northwood with an early health bar lead in the bottom lane.
Exactly what I wanted to see from the bot lane of Northwood here, and it leads to DMK burning both sums against a champ like Rek'Sai, right? Who can very easily dive you, can very easily get onto you under that turret. So I wonder if RBM is saying, okay, now that I know DMK doesn't have any sums, now that I know he's easy pickings, and we have a Poppy who stops him from going anywhere, I wonder if I can just go for the dive here, and I'm curious to see if he will do that after he finishes up these Raptors and just straight pivot to the bot lane.
That's going to be the question as Iso looking to make that Riptide matter. It has been so long since I've seen Nautilus top. This warms my old heart, Quacks. I don't know if we remember this, but way back when, like 2017, 2018, this not top was huge. Iso's bringing it back. Iso's looking for first blood, and 1v1 Iso on the Nautilus top will take it. Fight breaking out in the bottom lane. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. It's Clyde for DMK, but Enthralled will cash out with a double kill. Northwood Timberwolves coming up with everything in game number 4.
Poom didn't even flash there because he knew that RBM would immediately be there to follow, or Enthralled for that matter, as the Kai'Sa still has the flash. But Northwood, the power of friendship prevailing here in game number 3 as they go all out on the spicy picks and trusting each other in this tried and true game number 4. All of the eyes are on both of these teams, and they are bringing out all the stops.
It is RBM and Iso's last run, and they want to cap it off by making a deeper run than they and Northwood have ever made before. Looking for a top 4 minimum finish by eliminating this Fisher College team, this stacked up favorite squad. And even with Serenok in the roster, what difference does it make if your side lanes are just getting clapped?
Absolutely. And RBM here, you can see he's just patiently waiting in the wings of the Dragon Pit. No vision established from Fisher at all. They do not even want to walk up toward that area. But Flash is available for Enthralled.
What an interrupt there from Clyde. That's going to ground DMK, and RBM is all over him with the execution. Northwood take down the enemy carry. Yet again, DMK on the volatile bot lanes. The desk has been warning us all series long, Quacks. They keep biting, they keep taking these lanes, and they keep losing them.
And we were saying it's all in the execution. The draft certainly helps, but Northwood, they're executing this game. We're not even 5 minutes in, and this is immaculate gameplay from them so far. These picks are paying off insanely well.
Such great stuff there, and a great pick on the Serenok there from Reppy. There is no follow-up available, but he will get a good little chunk of damage, and I'm just getting excited every time I see action start to break out now. Northwood amping up the pace in this game 4 early game. They have been growing stronger and stronger with each game this series, and they are looking fully unleashed in game number 4. Fisher College have got to put something together real quick.
I mean, like you said, Gordo, right? This is the furthest this program has ever made it. Sure, it's the last dance for some of the players on Northwood, but they are looking to leave a legacy behind, and that in itself is incredibly exciting here. Getting a top 4 finish would be monumental,
Here's
Izo.
Bajani trying to respond, getting Izo pulled away with the all-out. He's not level 6 yet, and Bajani will equalize, coming up with a solo kill on his own. Meanwhile, RBM arriving towards mid will get spotted by that control ward, and Serenok will back away, not having to expend anything.
Fisher biting back a little bit, managed to get the Dragon as well as the kill on top side. Northwood going to respond, though, because Bajani had to take that reset. He had to go back, which does open up RBM to go on to these grubs, take away these grubs. But I have a feeling that Fisher know where this Rek'Sai is. They know RBM is looking for this trade. He has been trading the entire series. When one objective is taken, another one will follow. So as a result, Keel maybe looking for something a little aggressive on this bot side.
Very possibly. Multiple members coming on in now. The Tribrush being watched by Keel, but will not go for anything more. Clyde and Enthralled feeling safe and secure underneath their own tower. So the game will start to slow down a little bit. Not too many more angles for the aggressive plays presenting themselves, but Northwood still holding strong at a 1K gold lead. Fisher College just going to look to try to stabilize this bottom lane. I think the dreams of dominating through your Callista Renata are close to dead with a 2-0 lead over to Enthralled, and Enthralled understanding that it'll probably slow down a little bit. He's picking up that cull.
Yep, I was about to mention the Cole as well. I love that Enthralled is recognizing the game might slow down. He wants this extra little influx. Boom has no intention of slowing down, though.
RBM's got ult. He's dead. Doesn't even need the ult as Reppy finishes him off, throws another rock, and claims the kill. Reppy now on the board. Clearing out mid lane, rotating down to bottom. Clyde inside the enemy jungle. And Keel and Serenok, they have been pretty quiet this game, but they got to be wondering what's going on across the rest of the map. As Poom and DMK is continuing to get picked on and now waiting in this bush. DMK might end up face checking again. Looks like RBM has already moved on, though.
Clyde moving on. Doesn't want to go for anything too crazy there. I was thinking they could maybe look for a dive, but the wave in bot lane is stacking up for Enthralled. He wants to get those minions. He wants to make it so that Fisher have to go into him, because every single exchange that Fisher have been the ones moving first on, Northwood have punched back with twice the force and 4 times the speed.
Definitely been the case here. And they are willing to take some of these absolutely nutso fights. Especially RBM. He has just been playing with no regrets, with full aggression. Always been leveling up when it's CLOL time. Perhaps now evolving to the highest level yet we have seen out of him, as he just comes up time and time again. Great game on the Xin Zhao in game number 3. Now looking for it on the Rek'Sai in game number 4, and really being able to enable some of these plays already. Continues to hover this bottom lane to just try to keep DMK and Poom out of things.
It feels like it's so impossible for Keel to kind of roam on down toward that bot lane. You can see he's been trying to make plays throughout this game, but either the vision is too well established from the bot lane of Northwood, or RBM is there to respond, and you do not want to fight a Rek'Sai in the early game. This is an early game champion. This is the champion that likes to be in your face, you know, in those first 10 minutes. So Fisher not really able to get anything around the map toward that bot side, which is where a lot of their focus is primarily drafted toward.
For Fisher now, it's back towards the leadership of Keel. It's back towards who's been their big carry this whole run so far. He's ticked level 6 on the Wukong, gone even past it. I want to see what he can do with this first Cyclone on the map. He has been out of things so far, but has built himself up a couple of camps of a lead over RBM. And now that he has that important team fight tool, it is going to be on him to be able to execute, to be able to take out crucial members, and to be able to pull Fisher College back into contention.
And that aggression coming into the bot lane might be coming to fruition here for Fisher College as they look for Clyde. They're still looking for Clyde.
Clyde sectioned off. They're going to go for Enthralled. He's going to be left all alone under this turret. He clears out the wave, but here comes Keel with the flash away. Killer instinct to safety. Clyde punts out one. TP being channeled by Reppy. And Fisher College, I think they bit too soon. Quacks, the whole play's already dead. Spider-Man misses from Izo, but he dodges out on that, and Tofo strikes as miscues from both top laners mean that there is no play to be had.
But there is still a play around the map. You can see more trading in objectives from both squads. Keel going for the dragon. I think Bajani spotted out RBM on those grubs. So he's going to also take those uncontested 6 grubs going over to Northwood. And for all of the aggression coming out from this Kaisa, from this Poppy, they still have yet to take a plate. So this is the time to get aggressive. These next 3 minutes until plates drop, this is the time to try and get that extra little bit of bump in gold if you are enthralled in Clyde. And I have to imagine RBM is going to be there to assist.
You have got to imagine it for certain. RBM continuing up the farm game, just looking to move himself on down. Fisher College, the ones with controls over the dragon in this game, so RBM going to have to start thinking about how to deny that soul point the next time it comes on around. Meanwhile, Clyde still playing up and aggressive, going to be able to get the interrupt there onto DMK's passive. There's the hostile takeover. Doesn't look like it's going to connect. Will find enthralled. He gets a couple autos onto Clyde. Reppy arrives, and DMK going to be forced to pull his support to safety to avoid that seismic shove. 4 members now keeping this siege going, but health bars are low. Will RBM choose to pull the trigger here? He does. He goes underneath, looking for DMK. He will get rezzed back up by the bailout. He stays standing. 2 kills picked up by Keel, and RBM has overforced. Reppy will be able to finish off DMK on the other side, but there's no chance for his jungler, Serenok, chasing him down. Will make it into a 3-for-1 for Fisher College, and meanwhile, the top lane, you know how this one's going. Bajani looking to finish off Izo in the one-on-one once again. Will force out the flash and keep that Nautilus on the back foot.
Little bit of an over-aggressive play there coming out from Northwood. They did not account for the vision potentially being there for Fisher in that tri-bush. RBM and Reppy read like a book. The entire team of Northwood read like a book, and Fisher managed to send them home pack, and they are now biting back. And we were talking a little bit about how the Drakes fell out of Fisher's control in games 2 and 3. With that kill, with that exchange going in Fisher's favor, and them having 2 Drakes, they actually are setting themselves up to put a lot of pressure here in this bot side.
100%. Now Fisher has equalized the gold, pretty close to it at least. About a couple hundred gold in Northwood's favor. And the game belongs to anybody once again. Northwood with the full stacks of those grubs will give them some of that extra pushing power, but how much will that really manifest in a game that looks like it will be coming down to the team fights? Now, too big of an advantage being garnered. It's still a lead for Enthralled, of course, but Keel just got a big influx of gold, and you know what he can do with it. Back into a strong controlling position.
Absolutely, and we were saying, you know, the 6 grubs, they haven't gotten as many plates as they nearly would like to.
Ooh, there's Clyde just trying to frontline for Enthralled, but the handshake snags onto him. Double knockup from Clyde, though. Will get Enthralled out to safety as RBM coming on in. Did connect the Prey Seeker. Will not pop the ultimate, though, as they do back on away. The Rift Herald will be started up for Keel. Northwood securing topside objectives all game long. Will not be here in time for this one. And it looks like Keel is going to claim it with ease.
For sure. And no real objective on the board for Northwood to be able to respond. We've seen a trade in objectives throughout the entire game. 2 dragons for 2 different, camps in regards to the grubs. Those grubs haven't really been utilized. And now Fisher, with this dragon spawning up in about a minute, feel like they are coming in a little bit stronger. Right? Despite all of the early game aggression we saw from Northwood's bot lane, it feels like this Kalista Renata have managed to find their way back into the game, and so it's going to be up to Northwood to try and put something behind.
Prey Seeker and Void Seeker both dodged on out there. Poom refuses to be suck. Will be able to get on out of there. But now the Dragon not up for 40 more seconds, so 4 members down here for Northwood does not accomplish much for them. They will be able to fall back, just try to take some vision control in the jungle and get ready for that objective once it is on the table.
A lot of vision being established, like you said, Gordo. Reppy clearing out the minions in the mid wave, is going to recall, try and get some items under his belt. Has TP available in that tri-bush is where I am looking for him to maybe get a flank along with the Weaver's Wall.
One of my viewers sent me his favorite bottle of wine.
We do have a little bit of a pause here, so some time to chill here, Quacks.
Sad.
Don't worry, we'll be back before too long.
That is sad. Right as I know a fight is going to start, probably 20 seconds as soon as the pause is on pause, Gordo. So rest your lungs a little bit, because you're going to have to be screaming out some of those calls pretty shortly here. But yeah, a pause. And the game was very clearly in Northwood's favor, but now very much kind of on even terrain. And I'm honestly leaning a little bit more toward Fisher with how many dragons they have stacked up and the fact that it is garnering so much pressure from Northwood to respond.
Yeah, really is here. And now we're back to neck and neck territory. It is not going to very likely be an easy pathway to a snowball win for Northwood like we were potentially thinking. So a little bit of a PC crash we're getting word on, so hopefully we'll be able to get back in before too long. Always, I actually prefer the PC crash. It's better than internet issues, because, that might be your ISP and stuff that we can't really do much about.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some worse reasons to pause in the past. Most notably, we did have something going on at MSI recently that was a very interesting reason to pause the game. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think that the game in and of itself, Fisher, looking a little bit rough in the early game, but have bitten back. And honestly, if this goes to 5 games, this would be an incredibly exciting series for both teams, right? We kind of have Fisher, who are expected to be this team that can make it far, this sort of program and this organization that have historically made it far in the past, versus Northwood, who are a fully student-run program, and this would be their first top 4 finish ever, which would be just such a monumental place to be for this squad.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, they want to make a top 4, right? Fisher, the kind of core of this team, you could say, back in the day with Bay State, made a pretty deep run to finals. Saranac and Vijani were on that team as well, but for a lot of these guys, it is going to be pretty new for them. DMK on that squad as well, funny enough, but we'll be looking to make a return to potentially even LAN CLOL championships if he can find a way to do it. Absolutely massive for either team to be able to come on up with the win here. And Northwood, if they were to do it in a 3-1 fashion, I mean, they're going to have to get to the point where they're just going to get disrespected every step of the way. So even if I call for everybody to start respecting Northwood, they will be the underdogs in their matchup against St. Louis. There's just nothing to be done about that. That's the nature of things here. Whoever wins will be the underdog up against St. Louis, I think. But I mean, what a tremendous opportunity here for this squad, for being able to potentially make a run this deep with a squad that is has been through so much together, and on the last dance that they have here with ISO and RBM in particular.
But what a good, I feel almost first dance for a player like Enthralled, right? Yeah. Who has just come up on the squad. And, he definitely will be kind of this new player that a lot of people are looking toward. He's the future of the program, potentially. And so I think that, being able to make it this far in your first CLOL championship is really going to be a player like Enthralled, who people have brought up as this raw mechanical talent in the AD carry role. Give him some more experience, right? Which I think will just help him improve more, will help him be, more of a prospect that people should have their eyes on, because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, really, really should be. And that was absolutely massive here for them, and really going to be looking in to see what else can come on out of this program. Going to have ourselves back into the game, hopefully within about a minute, looking to get everything back up and set. But let's reset the stage here a little bit. Vijani really starting to take over in that top lane as well. We thought that the tides might be shifting up there just a little bit as ISO comes out with the solo kill on the Nautilus, but that Cassante is still swinging strong for Vijani. His signature pick, he comes out with a couple of kills for himself and is really starting to take the fight to ISO up there.
For sure. I mean, we were gassing up this Nautilus pick, but so far it does feel like Vijani, for all the flame we've thrown at the Cassante pick, more specifically all the flame that Colthrow and Shogo threw at the pick, Vijani is still really capable on this pick. And so I will be interested to see, sort of when he leaves the bird's nest of top lane, how much of an influence he can have around the rest of the map.
Absolutely here. Now, gearing up for that fight like you were talking about, Quacks. Let's see what is to be had by both squads. Northwood, the first one's onto the Dragon. Keel trying to pull the trigger onto Enthralled, but Enthralled has been able to kite himself back. TP's being channeled on both sides, as it might be this cutoff onto Bajani. He goes unstoppable immediately, will end up stunning himself. There's the follow-up knock-up. They're dumping everything they can find into Bajani. He gets bailed out. Will he be able to res? He will not. He drops too fast, but RBM's been taken out on the other side. Serenok TP'd into the fight. He lands that snare on towards Izo, trying to finish him off. Will be able to do so. Now Serenok chasing down Enthralled, and the substitute mid laner now coming back in. The intended starter all along will be able to come on up, but a pick made by Reppy to close out another. Will he be able to clap back? Clyde gonna end up dropping. DMK and Keel chasing onto Reppy onto the other side, and a very even fight will result in Fisher being the first ones to get a crack at the Dragon.
And this is soul point for them. This is such a major shift in pressure going over in favor of Fisher. And Northwood, they're trying to put a stop to it. They're trying to damage some of the carries. But RBM, he's still too far away. I think he's not going to be able to contest this, and it's just going to go over to Keel.
Big challenge being made by Reppy and RBM there, but it will not be enough. And Fisher College will get themselves on soul point, but now punishing DMK, recalling too aggressively. RBM flashes after him, looking for the kill, can't quite find it. Clyde going underneath the turret. The heal will keep DMK standing, and Northwood may have bitten off more than they can chew again. The Titanic Hydra going on through. Reppy able to clean up one kill. That's just the clone of Keel. He's taken too many turret shots. They're going to have to back away. Izo's not done yet, though. Tremor Sense detecting that someone is in that bush. It is Poom. But these are two tanky members with Bajani there to be able to keep up the defense. Will be able to immune that hook. Will buy some space for the team, but will not be able to protect that turret.
They get the turret, but it just feels like Fisher walked away with the bigger reward, which is going to be soul point. Now Northwood have a very tall task ahead of them. They don't have any dragons, so denying all of these is going to be very, very difficult, especially with Bajani getting tankier and tankier as this game goes on. Colthrow and Shogo highlighted it in the draft. How are you going to be able to kill this Cassante? How are you going to be able to kill not just this Cassante, but a Cassante with a mountain soul, I think would be a better question.
Ooh, now the focus coming through on towards Reppy. He's getting focused down. The spin from Keel, the shutdown over to Serenok. And yet again, Fisher able to make the collapse happen, and they're getting a lot of money on towards their, I don't want to say new mid laner. He was playing with them for most of the tournament, but they're returning a mid laner, Serenok, making plays happen on this Ahri.
Oh yeah, Serenok coming up big. He was given a chance here in game number 4, and he is making use of it on this Ahri. So you love to see that. And now RBM trying to defend this turret. Fisher just getting more and more room now. It is just going to allow them to push up this line of scrimmage a little bit more, try and get more of that deep vision that you see into Northwood's jungle, track these rotations, and just make it so hard for them to ever get the jump onto you. And that's what Northwood want to do, right? They want to try and be the ones that can get the jump onto Fisher, prevent their escapes. But if the vision is in favor of Fisher, it just makes that job so difficult.
Really great stuff here. Fisher College setting up for this next Baron now as it slithers through the river to see if there's going to be a dance for it before too long. Looking like it will be that hunting Baron, so no new terrain to be found. And the push in mid lane for Northwood will not be able to get them any pressure onto this turret, even with members hanging around.
Absolutely enthralled. Curiously, actually going AP here in this game. You can see he has that Luden's Companion acquired. So these W's, these I believe this is the Prey Seeker or the Void Seeker. We have 2 Seekers in this game. We are not Harry Potter, just for context. We are League of Legends. But yeah, Enthralled, gonna start dealing a lot of damage with those as he throws those out. Void Seeker, thank you, production. So it'll be interesting to see if that gives Northwood any kind of advantage in the poke department, along with that Talia.
Absolutely here. Starting to get a little bit more damage on this long-range poke, but I mean, this is going to cost you in terms of like your upfront AD DPS. And you're going to have to deal with Bajani at some point, but have to see what Northwood have in store for that front of the fight. He is starting to get real dangerous with that completed Frozen Fist. We'll be able to just work through the health bars faster and faster.
Absolutely, and the thing for Northwood here is to try and knock down this mid turret, but having Serenok in the area now, you can see he's rotating down. These REQs are essentially just going to be able to one-shot the wave, right? And this is one of Ari's biggest strengths, along with the mobility, is being able to wave clear, right? Being able to clear out these waves and make it so difficult for Northwood to siege any of these objectives. And if they can't siege objectives, they can't push up, which means that they can't get any of that deep vision for these upcoming fights. And that's going to be really important as we got a dragon spawning in about 30 seconds here, and Northwood are forced to just get into this river as soon as possible.
Yeah, really good landing on these Void Seekers here out of Enthralled. Able to try to keep those health bars low, specifically on towards DMK, although I think the threat you got to be really worried about is Serenok. Good chunk landed on towards Poom there, but Northwood do not want to take a straight-up, even-keeled fight. They are going to be backing on away. Bajani able to cut off RBM here. Now going to be moving on forward. They do manage to get that snare through for Clyde. RBM looking for some more, not going to be able to find it. And now control over that dragon goes over to Fisher College. Bajani's in the front line, but this guy should be invulnerable, staying strong for a while. The punt out lands onto a target, and now Bajani getting focused down. Clyde going to be able to finish that off. Enthralled dives into the back line. The massive 4-man knockup found by Keel, but what can Fisher College do with it? DMK getting focused down. Handshake back away to buy DMK the space, and 3 kills come up for Fisher. They close out on both ends of the fight, and it's all off the back of what Keel made happen with that Cyclone engage.
Absolutely. Izo, the lone member, will manage to get out of the way of the charm and survive the onslaught that Fisher College put on there toward that dragon. Speaking of dragon, that's going to be a soul point, mountain soul here for Fisher. And how are you ever going to be able to kill this Cassante? How are you ever going to be able to kill this Wukong now, who's silently been accruing some of that armor? And they are just going straight onto the Baron, but I think it's just too late for Northwood to do any kind of a response.
And the cast previously, oh, wait a second. Izo trying to pick off DMK, but I think DMK's got more than you bargained for, buddy. Izo forced off of the play. Reppy trying to clean up onto Poom. We'll be able to take it out. Clyde is arriving as well. They want to get out of DMK. Keel going to be able to smite down that Baron. This fight is getting messy, Quacks, as RBM finds his way on towards Keel. Keel diving in for Enthralled. Izo TPing back into the fray after getting chunked out earlier on. Shutdown gold secured by Enthralled and a 2-man advantage on the map for Northwood. What can they do with the power play while the Baron is still being worn by 3 members of Fisher?
They're trying to go for the mid lane. They're trying to stop Bajani from catching that, and it looks like they succeeded. They have the 6 grubs, so that is just easy pickings. And the objective that we thought was once really impossible for Northwood to go for has been claimed. So at the end of the day, they lose the Baron. They get some picks, but they also get some space for them to work with.
And this is looking like a series that could go the distance, Quacks. Fisher College striking back strong. They have the Mountain Drake now. It's going to be so valuable up against this poke damage that Enthralled is dishing out. The DPS is left lacking, and Northwood now have to defend up against this Baron Siege as they lose their mid-outer as well.
So a trade in mid lane turrets at the end of the day. No objective really spawning at this point in the game. We have the Elder spawning in about 4 minutes, but that has to be what both teams are thinking about. This is the end-all be-all objective, right? This can single-handedly turn the tide of a game. So both squads have to establish bot lane priority. Sorry, I forgot the word there. Bot lane priority. Get that mid lane priority for themselves. And Fisher, with that Baron buff, are poised to do just that.
Something else to look out here. Serenok completing the Medjai's Soul Stealer. He wants to get some reading in game number 4 and see if he can keep himself safe and stacking as we get into the later stages. All right, so Spider-Man on his way out yet again. It's the 2-front siege for Fisher College, a 4-1 split will set themselves up to keep pressure on these inner turrets. Enthralled matching in mid, 3 members matching in top. RBM trying to shift between the two. Will they be able to find a fight? They're starting on towards Bajani. He already used the CC immunity. Keel jumping back away with the clone. They're getting damage onto Bajani, but he's shrugging off most of it. Still at half HP, even with all that thrown down.
Whoa.
The hook going to pop
got
off
him!
with the killer instinct, but look at that hostile takeover, causing Reppy to lose a bunch of HP to Enthralled. Keel now spinning on away, hooked back on in. They're going to be able to finish off Poom. Serenok trying to head out the dive through for RBM, only going to take him to his own death. It's a 2-for-1 trade. Izo gets charmed, but is able to buffer the dredge line. He jumps out of the way in the nick of time, and we are 14-14 on the kill score once again. Quacks, and despite losing an extra member, Fisher still feels strong.
Northwood, though, they managed to bite back in that exchange. They managed to whittle down Bajani and take down the Giant of Cassante. Now, the recall's coming in from Fisher. This could be Northwood's chance to try and get some established priority around this mid lane, around this bot lane. This Elder Dragon is spawning in about 2 minutes here. They have got to try and wave clear around this area. They've got to try and establish vision, try and push themselves up a little further inch by inch. But we'll have to wait and see what exactly happens because Fisher are back on the map.
Yeah. And it is the old Abyssal Mask being worn by Izo, by the way, but between that and the 2 magic damage dealers and the Crypt Bloom for Enthralled, it looks like they kind of can work through Bajani. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not impossible. They've managed to take him down now multiple fights, and that Koenig Rooker, not enough to keep him standing. He's working on some additional MR now, but a second Crypt Bloom has been completed by Northwood.
No, Northwood are certainly in a good position in a lot of these team fights. They have the poke coming out from Enthralled and Reppy. They also have the ability to disengage fights if Fisher try to get on top of them, right? They have so many anti-mobility spells, like you mentioned at the beginning of this game, Gordo. So they do have some advantages going into this Elder Dragon, scuffle that could probably be the end of the game. It's just a matter of how they execute it, and it starts with the vision, and it looks like Northwood are looking to get some of that back.
50 seconds to go on Elder. Serenok fishing around with these charms. Clyde looking for potential targets to pick off. And vision being secured for Northwood. The Genji Baron buff has fallen off. It will be back up in about 90 seconds. Now we are back to even states. Enthralled taking a fair bit of damage there. They're going to start to back away. Clyde trying to be that interrupting force. As Bajani leads the charge, he looks for an Invovo strike, not going to find it. Here comes the wall from Reppy. Bajani's stuck! Bajani has nowhere to go. He's in the middle of the wall. There's the hostile takeover, buying space for the top laner. RBM forced to disengage away from the rest of the team. They're coming back in for more as Clyde and RBM leading the charge on towards the bottom side. Bajani too low for the follow-up fight. Keel stuck inside the pit. Gets hooked back in. Goes the clone. He's still standing. He refuses to get hit by any of these abilities, but he will get punted out before too long. Clyde going to let that ultimate time out. He's going to have it back here before too long. TP now being channeled. It's Bajani rejoining the fight. They're going to try to focus him down once again. The steadfast presence expires. He gets the stun on multiple members. Enthralled goes in for the killer instinct, trying to dive back away. But Keel is spinning through the rest of the team. Izo has been focused down. Bajani still standing strong. Keel